You sit before me today carrying the weight of questions you do not know how to name. There is a quiet tremor in the heart when life repeats its patterns like an unending spiral, and you ask yourself why you keep encountering the same pain, the same faces, the same betrayals dressed in new clothing. This repetition is not an accident, nor is it some cruel game of fate. It is the unconscious whisper of the shadow, the part of you that you have locked away, the part you would rather not meet in the mirror, and yet what you refuse to see in yourself is precisely what returns to you again and again in the world outside. For life has no other choice but to become the mirror of your soul. I have often said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. We are all too eager to speak of love, hope, and transcendence, but few have the courage to face the raw clay of their own being, the instincts, wounds, and secret desires that dwell below the polished surface of the ego. It is this unacknowledged darkness that shapes your destiny more than any conscious plan. It is the invisible hand that arranges the stage of your life so that you may confront, whether willingly or unwillingly, what you have cast into the shadows. When you attract the same pain repeatedly, it is not because you are cursed, nor because you are unworthy of happiness. It is because there is a story buried deep within you that demands to be told, and until you listen to it, how the outer world will keep shouting it through the people you meet and the situations you endure. The soul has its own language, and it is not the language of polite conversation. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, in sudden eruptions of emotion. Every time you meet a person who awakens in you a storm of love or anger, fear or longing, you are encountering a fragment of your own psyche. Projected outward, the shadow is cunning. It knows how to wear the faces of others so that you cannot easily recognize yourself in it. And yet, each painful pattern is an invitation to step into the underworld of your own being, to meet the forgotten child, the neglected truth, the instinct you have rejected. Let me tell you something that may disturb you. Your shadow is not merely a collection of bad habits or socially unacceptable traits. It is also the reservoir of your vitality, your creativity, your power to love and to live. You have been taught to believe that only the light is holy, that only goodness is acceptable. But in banishing what you consider unworthy, your anger, your jealousy, your lust, your fear, you have also buried the fierce energy that could make you whole. The shadow, like a neglected animal, does not it prowls in the darkness, waiting for you to acknowledge it. And when you refuse, it finds other ways to make itself known. It manifests as repeated heartbreaks, sabotaged relationships, unexplained anxiety, and the haunting sense that you are living someone else's life. There is a paradox here. The very thing you fear to face is the key to your freedom. You have been seeking healing outside of yourself in other people, in achievements, in spiritual practices that promise to erase your pain, but no ritual, no mantra, no lover can take away what is fundamentally your own responsibility to know yourself in your entirety. To meet your shadow is to sit down with the aspects of your being that you have disowned, to listen to their story, to give them a voice. This is not an easy path. It requires courage, for you must descend into the labyrinth of your unconscious, where monsters and treasures lie side by side. Consider the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. The Minotaur, half man and half beast, lives in the dark maze beneath the surface world. Many fear him, many avoiding him, but the hero who dares to enter, who follows the thread of truth, eventually confronts the creature face to face. That creature is your shadow, the instincts you deny, the emotions you reject, until you confront it. It will devour you from within, manifesting as the same destructive patterns you see in your relationships, in your choices, in your recurring pain. But once you face it, you begin to reclaim your own strength. And the maze is no longer a prison, but a path to freedom. Think of your dreams, for they are the royal road to the unconscious. In dreams, the shadow often appears as a dark figure, a stranger, an animal, a menacing presence. Many dismiss such dreams as nightmares, failing to realize that the unconscious is trying to show them what the waking mind refuses to see. If you pay attention, you will notice that shadow is not always hostile. Sometimes it appears as a guide, a figure of strange wisdom, beckoning you to explore the forbidden rooms of your soul. It may show you images of your past, long forgotten wounds that still bleed in silence. It may confront you with truths that you would rather not admit, that your anger towards another is also anger towards yourself, that your longing for love hides a fear of being seen as you truly are. Why do we resist meeting the shadow? Because to do so is to dismantle the false image of ourselves that we cling to. We all carry a persona, a mask we wear to be accepted by society, to fulfill the expectations of family and culture. But beneath that mask lies a vast, uncharted territory of feelings and impulses that do not fit the tidy narrative of who we believe we are. We fear that if we allow these forbidden parts to emerge, we will be rejected, abandoned, or even destroyed, and so we bury them. Yet the more we bury them, the more they control us from the depths. What you repress does not vanish. It becomes fate. It appears as the partner who wounds you in the exact way you cannot tolerate, as the colleague who triggers your deepest insecurities, as the friend who mirrors the part of you that you cannot forgive. Do you see now life is not punishing you? Life is presenting you with a mirror. Each encounter with pain is a call to awareness, a call to stop projecting your shadow onto others and to recognize it within yourself. When you meet someone who infuriates you or seduces you beyond reason, ask yourself, what part of me is being reflected here? What have I denied in myself that this person is bringing to the surface? This is not to say that all harm is your fault or that you must accept abuse. Rather, it is to say that the patterns of your inner world will shape the patterns of your outer world until you bring them into the light of consciousness. The shadow is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a teacher to be integrated. Integration means to bring together what has been divided, to recognize that you are not only the kind, spiritual or successful self you show to the world, but also the angry, frightened, wounded self that you have tried to hide When you integrate the shadow, you become whole. Wholeness is not perfection. It is the union of opposites, the dance of light and dark, the ability to hold the tension of your contradictions without collapsing into self-judgment. Only then can you stop attracting the same pain. For the outer world no longer needs to reflect the inner division. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman who has always prided herself on being selfless, kind, and accommodating. She believes she must always put others first, never show anger, never say no, and yet she keeps finding herself in relationships where she is taken for granted, where her generosity is exploited, where her heart is broken by partners who do not truly see her. She asks, why does this keep happening? The answer lies in her shadow. Beneath her image of kindness lies a buried rage, the anger of a child who was never allowed to have needs, who learned that love must be earned by pleasing others. This anger, unacknowledged, becomes the magnetic force that draws partners who mirror her unconscious belief that she is not worthy of respect. When she finally dares to face her anger, to give it a voice, to honor it as a sign of her own boundaries and worth, the pattern begins to change. She no longer attracts those who exploit her, for she has reclaimed the part of her soul that demanded to be seen. The same is true for you. The pain that repeats in your life is a message, and the message is always this: look within, not with harsh judgment, but with curiosity, compassion, and courage. You are not merely a victim of fate. You are the author of your inner myth. And until you rewrite the story that lives in your unconscious, the outer events will keep playing the same roles. The shadow is the key to that rewriting, for it holds the missing pages of your soul's narrative. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are standing before a door. Behind that door is every feeling you have suppressed, every dream you have abandoned, every memory you have tried to forget. You feel the urge to turn away, for you fear what lies inside. But I tell you this: open the door, enter the room, sit down with the shadows, not as an enemy, but as a guest. Ask them what they want to tell you. Perhaps they will show you a dream you once had as a child, a vision of life that you have betrayed in order to please others. Perhaps they will show you the face of your own loneliness, the part of you that longs to be held. Perhaps they will show you a rage so vast that you fear it will consume you. But beneath that rage is the power to create boundaries, to claim your place in the world. When you dare to open that door and sit with the shadows, you begin to realize that they are not as monstrous as you once believed. In truth, they are fragments of your own being that have been cast out of the light, waiting for you to recognize them. These forgotten parts speak in symbols because they are not of the rational mind. They are closer to the world of dreams, of myths, of primal images that arise from the collective unconscious. And so, to understand them, you must learn to see with different eyes, to perceive the hidden language of archetypes. Archetypes are not merely abstract ideas. They are living patterns, ancient forces that shape the drama of human life. The shadow is but one of these archetypes, and it is often accompanied by others, the child, the mother, The hero, the trickster, the wise old man, and so many more, each of these figures lives in you, waiting for you to become conscious of them. When you refuse to meet your shadow, you also block the deeper wisdom of these archetypes, for they are all connected in the tapestry of your psyche. You cannot selectively embrace only the positive ones while ignoring the negative, for the unconscious is not divided as the conscious mind is. It is whole, it is vast, it contains all the polarities of existence. Consider the dream of a man who constantly sees himself walking through a dark forest, pursued by a wolf. He wakes in terror, sweating, convinced that the wolf is a symbol of evil. But when we look deeper, we find that the wolf is not his enemy. It is his own instinctual power, his courage, his wildness qualities. He has repressed because he was taught to be tame, polite, and agreeable. The wolf hunts him because he has abandoned it. And until he turns to face it, the dream will repeat. The fear will grow. And the same pain will manifest in his waking life. The wolf is his shadow, but it is also his guide. If he can make peace with it, if he can allow its strength to flow through him, he will no longer feel hunted, but empowered. This is the truth about pain. It is not here to punish you. Pain is the voice of the unconscious calling you back to your wholeness. You attract the same pain because you are being asked to learn the same lesson, to integrate the same fragment of your soul that you have ignored. Life will not stop presenting you with these mirrors until you answer the call. And when you do, you will find that the pain was never your enemy. It was your teacher, dressed in harsh garments, leading you to the depths where your true power resides. You may ask me, how do I meet my shadow? How do I begin this journey? The first step is to become aware of your projections. What you cannot accept in yourself, you will inevitably see in others. When someone triggers you with intense emotions, anger, jealousy, contempt, pause and ask yourself, what is this person showing me about myself? This does not mean you must condone their behavior, but it does mean you must look honestly at why you are so deeply affected. Often we project our own rejected qualities onto others because it is easier to judge them out there than to face them within. Every projection is an opportunity to reclaim a part of yourself. The second step is to engage with your inner world through active imagination. This is a practice I have used for many years, and it involves entering into a dialogue with the figures and symbols of your unconscious. You might close your eyes and visualize the shadow as a person or creature. You might ask it questions. Who are you? What do you want from me? What have you come to teach me at first? This may feel strange or even frightening, but with patience, you will discover that the unconscious responds when you approach it with openness and respect. The shadow is not a demon to be exorcised, but a neglected friend who longs to be understood. Another way to meet your shadow is through the exploration of your dreams. Keep a journal beside your bed. Write down every dream you remember. No matter how fragmented, over time, patterns will emerge. You will see recurring symbols, themes, and emotions. Pay attention to the characters in your dreams. They are often parts of you that are trying to communicate. Do not interpret them too quickly with the logic of the waking mind. Instead, ask yourself how they make you feel, what memories they stir, what truths they might be pointing toward. Dreams are the purest expression of the unconscious, and they will guide you if you learn to listen. Yet I must warn you, the path of shadow work is not without its dangers. To face your unconscious is to face the unknown, and the ego will resist. It will tell you that you are fine as you are, that there is no need to stir the depths. But this is a lie born of fear. The ego is like a small island floating on the vast sea of the psyche. It believes that if it allows the waters to rise, it will drown. But in truth, the waters are your life force. The more you open to them, the more alive you become. Integration does not destroy the ego. It expands it, transforming it into a vessel capable of holding the totality of who you are. You may encounter feelings that overwhelm you: grief, rage, despair. These emotions have been locked away for so long that they may burst forth like a flood. When this happens, do not run. Sit with them. Let them move through you. They are not here to harm you, but to cleanse you of what no longer serves you. Every emotion you repress becomes a knot in your soul. To untie it, you must first allow it to be felt. This is the alchemical process of transformation, to descend into the darkness, to endure its heat, and to emerge forged anew. The shadow also hides within our relationships. Have you noticed how love and pain often walk hand in hand? This is because the people we are most drawn to are often mirrors of our deepest wounds. We are attracted not merely to their beauty or their kindness, but to the parts of them that resonate with our unhealed selves. In this way, every intimate relationship is a kind of laboratory for shadow work. When your partner triggers you, when you feel an irrational surge of jealousy or anger, it is not just about them. It is about you. It is about the old wounds that are being touched, the childhood memories that are being reawakened, the parts of your shadow that are crying out to be seen. To love another truly, you must first see yourself clearly. Otherwise, you will be blinded by projections. You will fall in love not with the person themselves, but with the image you have cast upon them. And when they fail to live up to that image, as they inevitably will, you will feel betrayed. But it is not they who have betrayed you, it is your own unconscious expectations. To meet your shadow is to free others from carrying your projections, to allow them to be who they are rather than who you imagine them to be. This is the beginning of real love, a love that is not based on illusion but on truth. I recall a man who came to me tormented by his relationships. He always seemed to choose partners who were cold and distant, who would not return his affection. He believed he was simply unlucky in love, but I saw that this was not the case. Through our work together, he discovered that his shadow held a deep fear of intimacy. As a child, he had been hurt by those he trusted. And so he learned to seek love from those who could not truly give it. In this way, he kept repeating the same wound, unconsciously seeking to heal it through others. Only when he faced his fear when he acknowledged the pain of his childhood and gave it space to be felt, did he begin to attract partners who could meet him with genuine warmth? The same principle applies to all the patterns in your life, whether it is love, career, friendships, or your own inner dialogue. The shadow is always at work. It is not enough to simply wish for better experiences. You must transform from within. The outer world is a reflection of your inner state. And when you change inside, the mirrors outside shift as well. This is why shadow work is the foundation of true freedom. Without it, you are like a puppet, moved by strings you cannot see. With it, you begin to cut those strings, to stand on your own, to live with authenticity and power. You must understand that the shadow is not the enemy of your soul, but its complement. It is the dark soil in which the seed of your consciousness grows. Without this soil, without this depth, your life would be shallow and fragile, easily broken by the winds of circumstance. But because you resist your shadow, you also resist your own strength. You cling to an image of light, believing that to be pure is to be without darkness. Yet purity is not the absence of darkness. It is the ability to hold both light and dark in balance, to walk through the valley of shadows and still see the stars above. Many who come to me are afraid of this work because they believe the shadow will swallow them whole. They imagine that if they allow their anger to surface, it will consume them. They fear that if they admit their envy or selfishness, they will no longer be lovable. But I tell you this, the opposite is true. When you embrace your shadow, when you bring it into consciousness, it no longer has power over you. It becomes integrated, transformed. Your anger becomes your ability to stand up for yourself. Your envy becomes your recognition of what you truly desire. Your fear becomes the compass that guides you toward courage. The journey toward wholeness is not a path of comfort, but of depth. The deeper you go into yourself, the more you will discover that what you call pain is simply the doorway to healing. Pain is not a sign that you are broken. Pain is a sign that something inside you is asking to be seen, to be honored, to be brought into the light. Every scar you carry, every heartbreak, every disappointment, these are not random misfortunes. They are the way your soul calls you home. Imagine standing before a mirror that does not reflect your surface appearance but your inner world. What would you see? Would you see the child who still longs for love and acceptance? Would you see the wild, untamed energy that you have suppressed in order to appear good? Would you see the wounds that shaped your choices, the memories you buried so deeply that they became invisible threads weaving through your life? This mirror is always before you. It shows itself in your relationships, your failures, your triumphs, and your dreams. But you must have the courage to look. There's a concept in alchemy called the nigredo, the blackening, the stage of decomposition, where all that is false must be burned away, so that what is true can emerge. This is the stage of shadow work. It is not pretty. It is not about affirmations or pretending everything is fine. It is about descending into the underworld of your psyche, allowing the old structures to collapse, and trusting that from this darkness a new light will be born. You cannot skip this stage if you truly want to grow. To avoid it is to remain stuck in endless repetition, attracting the same pain over and over, because you refuse to transform. Some of you may feel that you are already too broken to begin this work, that you do not have the strength to face what lies within. But I assure you, the very fact that you are here listening means that you are ready. The unconscious calls to us when it knows we are capable of answering. It does not present us with more than we can bear. And even when the journey feels overwhelming, you are not alone. The archetypes within you, the wise self, the inner healer, the hero, are waiting to guide you. When you meet your shadow, you also awaken these inner allies, and together they help you navigate the labyrinths. Do not mistake shadow work for self-condemnation. To meet your shadow is not to judge yourself as bad or unworthy. It is to recognize that you are human, that you are complex, that you carry within you the whole spectrum of existence, light and dark, love and fear, creation and destruction. To deny this is to live a half-life, a life where you are constantly fighting against yourself. But when you accept all of who you are, when you hold the tension between opposites without collapsing into shame, you discover a profound freedom. You are no longer ruled by the unconscious forces that once drove you. You can act from choice rather than compulsion. Think of the times when you reacted in anger and later regretted it, or when you fell into the arms of someone who hurt you, even though you knew better. These moments are not signs of weakness. They are signs that the unconscious is at play, that something inside you is acting out because it has not been heard. Instead of blaming yourself, you can ask, what part of me needed attention in that moment? What was I trying to express through this pain? In this way, every mistake becomes a teacher. Every wound becomes a portal to greater self-knowledge. I remember working with a young woman who was plagued by recurring dreams of drowning. She would wake up gasping, terrified, unable to shake the image of dark water pulling her under. At first, she saw these dreams as a curse. But as we explored them together, she realized that the water was not trying to kill her. It was trying to cleanse her. It represented her own emotions, the grief she had suppressed for years. When she finally allowed herself to cry, to mourn the losses she had carried silently, the dreams shifted. The water became calm, reflective, even beautiful. This is the power of facing your shadow. What once seemed like an enemy becomes a source of healing. Your life will continue to bring you these invitations until you accept them. The same pain will appear in different forms: a friend who betrays you, a job that drains you, a love that breaks your heart. It is not life that is cruel. It is life that is trying with increasing urgency to show you the truth of who you are. You cannot run from this forever. If you try, the patterns will only grow louder, more insistent. But when you turn inward, when you face the shadow with open eyes, something miraculous happens. The pattern begins to dissolve. You no longer need to attract the same pain because you have understood the lesson it was meant to teach. This is not a one-time act, but a lifelong process. The shadow is not something you conquer once and for all. It evolves as you evolve. Every new stage of your life brings new layers of the unconscious to the surface. But the more you practice this work, the less you fear it. You begin to see that the shadow is not a dark monster, but a wellspring of wisdom. It shows you where you are incomplete, where you are still hiding from yourself. And when you listen, when you integrate what you find, you become more whole, more alive, more capable of living your true destiny. The world today is full of people who have not met their shadow. You can see it in the way they project their own darkness onto others, blaming, hating, judging. They fight external battles that are really internal ones. They demonize what they fear in themselves. This is why the work of the shadow is not only personal but collective. Each time you integrate the piece of your own darkness, you contribute to the healing of the world. You break the chain of projection. You bring a little more consciousness into the collective psyche. There is a profound courage in this work, and it is the courage that will free you from the cycles of suffering. To meet your shadow is to reclaim your life, to stop living as a victim of unconscious patterns and to step into the fullness of who you are. This is the task of individuation, to become the person you were meant to be. Not by rejecting your darkness, but by embracing it as part of the whole. When you finally begin to see that the shadow is not your enemy but your ally, a subtle shift occurs. You start to recognize the patterns that once trapped you, not as curses, but as invitations. Life becomes a dialogue with the unconscious rather than a battlefield. You notice that the same pain which once seemed senseless is, in fact, a signpost, pointing you inward towards the unclaimed territories of your soul. Each repetition of pain is like the knock of a forgotten visitor at your door, insisting, "Do you see me yet? Do you hear me?" The moment you answer, the cycle begins to break. There is a sacred moment when you stop running from yourself. In that stillness, you might feel the gravity of your own being. For the first time, all the love you have withheld from yourself, all the truths you have tried to bury. It is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying, because it forces you to see that the pain you blamed on the world was also born from within. Liberating, because it shows you that you are not powerless. The key to transformation was never outside of you. It was always here, in your own willingness to face what you have long feared. When you truly meet your shadow, something profound happens to your relationships. You no longer need to demand from others what you have denied yourself. You stop expecting someone else to heal the wounds you have refused to look at. You see your partner not as a savior, but as a mirror, a companion on the journey. This does not mean that love becomes less passionate or less deep. On the contrary, love becomes clearer, more authentic. It is no longer tangled with projections or unspoken demands. It becomes a meeting of two souls, each whole in their own right, walking together with eyes wide open. But this meeting with your shadow is not a single event. It is a rhythm, a spiral. There will always be layers of the unconscious waiting to be discovered. You will encounter moments when old patterns resurface, when familiar pain whispers at your door. Do not see this as failure. See it as a sign that you are ready for the next stage of integration. Each return to the shadow is like a descent into a deeper cavern of your being, where even richer treasures await. The gold of the soul is always hidden in the places we least want to look. You may have heard the phrase, "What you resist persists." This is the essence of shadow work. The more you resist a feeling, the more power it gains over you. The more you deny an aspect of yourself, the more it controls you from the shadows. But when you turn toward it, when you say, "Yes, I see you. Yes, you are part of me," the power shifts. Resistance becomes acceptance. Fear becomes understanding. The once frightening shadow becomes a source of strength. Let me tell you a story of a man who believed he was cursed by failure. Every endeavor he began seemed to crumble. Every path he took led to disappointment. He blamed the world, his circumstances, even fate. But when we spoke, I saw that his shadow was not failure, but fear of success. He had buried a belief deep within him that he was not worthy of greatness, that to succeed would mean to step out of the familiar prison of his own smallness. Until he faced that fear, he unconsciously sabotaged every opportunity. When he finally met this shadow, when he dared to claim his own worth, the pattern broke. He began to create a life that reflected his true potential, not his unspoken fears. This is the truth of every recurring pain. It is not there to punish you, but to awaken you. You are not destined to live in endless cycles of suffering. You are destined to become conscious, to integrate all parts of yourself, to become whole. The shadow is not an obstacle to your growth. It is the very path of growth. It is the teacher that will not leave until you have learned its lessons. You might ask, what if I meet something in my shadow that I cannot accept? What if I discover darkness that frightens me to this? I say you already carry it, whether you acknowledge it or not. Refusing to look does not make it disappear. It only makes it more dangerous. For what remains unconscious rules your life without your knowing. The act of seeing, of shining the light of awareness into the dark corners is the first and most powerful step toward transformation. Even the most frightening shadow loses its hold when you face it with courage. You will find that much of what you feared was only a wounded child within you, crying out for love and understanding. The unconscious is vast, but it is not against you. It is a soil from which your consciousness blooms. Think of a tree. Its branches reach towards the sky, but its roots delve deep into the dark earth. Without the roots, the tree cannot stand without your shadow. You cannot truly grow. Wholeness requires both ascent and descent, both light and dark. You cannot choose one and reject the other. You must embrace both as the full expression of life. The work of individuation, the journey to your true self, is not about becoming someone new. It is about reclaiming what has always been yours, but has been hidden under layers of conditioning, fear, and denial. It is about remembering who you are, beneath the masks, beneath the roles you play, beneath the pain you have carried. When you meet your shadow, you begin to gather these lost pieces of yourself, and slowly you become whole again. Take a moment now, in your own mind, to see the places where pain repeats in your life. Perhaps it is in love, where you keep choosing those who cannot meet you fully, Perhaps it is in your work, where you feel unseen, unappreciated, or trapped. Perhaps it is in your own thoughts, where self-criticism and doubt haunt you like restless ghosts. Whatever it is, know this. The repetition is not a curse. It is an invitation. It is the shadow's way of knocking at the door of your consciousness, asking you to come home. To answer this invitation, you must be willing to feel. Feeling is the language of the soul. We have been taught to fear our feelings, to suppress them, to label them as good or bad, but feelings are neither good nor bad. They are simply messages. Anger says, a boundary has been crossed. Grief says, something valuable has been lost. Fear says, something needs your attention. When you allow yourself to feel fully, you begin to decode these messages. You begin to understand what your shadow has been trying to tell you all along. And then, slowly, life changes. Not because the world outside suddenly becomes perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. You are no longer a prisoner of the unconscious. You see your patterns for what they are, and you choose differently. You walk through life with a deeper sense of presence, a deeper connection to yourself and to the mystery of existence. The shadow becomes not a burden but a companion, guiding you toward wholeness. There will always be those who fear this work, who would rather live on the surface than face the depths. But for those who dare, the reward is immeasurable. You gain not only self-awareness, but self-compassion. You see that you are not broken, not unworthy, but profoundly human, a being of light and shadow, of infinite complexity and beauty. And from this place of wholeness, you can meet others with greater understanding, for you see in them the same struggles, the same hidden wounds, the same yearning for wholeness. I leave you with this truth. You keep attracting the same pain because you refuse to meet your shadow. But the moment you turn inward, the moment you face that shadow with courage and love, the cycle begins to break. Pain becomes wisdom. Darkness becomes light. And you, at last, become the one you were always meant to be. Not a fragment, but a whole and luminous soul